Vamos a hablar de cómo nosotros vamos a experimentar lo que Dios tiene para nosotros.
We're continuing in our series entitled Healing in the Land.
Seguimos en nuestra serie Sanación de nuestra tierra.
If we want to use for a subtopic this morning,
Vamos a dar un subtítulo en esta mañana.
we want to talk about pursuing your healing.
Buscando la sanidad.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you today,
Padre, gracias en este día.
as always,
Como siempre,
that when we're approaching your word,
que nosotros nos acercamos a su palabra.
our prayer is that you open our eyes that we can see,
Nuestra oración, que abra nuestros ojos para ver.
our ears that we may hear,
Que nuestros oídos escuchen.
and our hearts that we will receive what you're saying.
Que nuestros corazones reciban lo que usted
We
quiere decir.
thank you that you do this through the power of your Holy Spirit.
Gracias que usted hace esto por el poder de su Espíritu Santo.
In the name of Jesus.
En el nombre de Jesús.
Amen and amen.
Amén, amén.
And as I said, we've been talking over these last couple of weeks as we're diving into this series.
Lo que nosotros estamos hablando en esta semana anterior y estamos navegando en esta serie.
Looking at this thought about healing in the land, and today, as I'm already kind of led into, I want to talk about pursuing God. That means pursuing your healing.
Estamos hablando de sanidad en la tierra y vamos a hablar del tópico buscando tu sanidad, buscando esa cura.
And oftentimes, pursue means what? That means I got to chase it, I got to run down. No, I want to use that word pursuing means that just going after with the mindset that I want what God has for me.
A veces nosotros decimos buscar y pensamos que tenemos que buscar esto, buscar lo otro, pero nosotros vamos a poner nuestra mente, vamos a tener nuestra mente en lo que Dios tiene para nosotros.
Because all of us know that, or many of us are aware that Jesus has already paid the ultimate price through his atoning grace, that he's paid the price for our healing already.
Nosotros sabemos que Jesús pagó el último precio por nuestra sanidad.
And today I want to point our attention back to that, because there's so many different things and diseases, and we talked about that last week. What that word disease is just not a physical thing, but that's a disease is anything that impairs the functionality of either your body or some type of system.
Vamos a hablar de sanidad y la semana pasada estamos hablando de que es algo espiritual que trata de dañar tu sistema.
And there's some things in our lives that if we would understand, and even in our nation, if we want to make it on a grander picture, there are some things that are happening in our land, in our lives, in our families, and maybe even our own minds and our own thoughts that are not, that our thoughts and our livelihoods and our way about we're doing things, our physical, could be a physical thing is being impaired because there is something that has, let me just use this word, has infected us.
Hay muchas cosas en nuestra tierra, en nuestra vida, en nuestra familia, en nuestro cuerpo, y el pastor quiere usar la palabra, hay cosas que nos infectan a nosotros.
And we want to, like in anything else, when you have infection in your body physically, you want the doctors to have to treat that infection and get it out so that the healing will come to full fruition in your life, or to come to pass in your life.
Cuando usted tiene una infección en su cuerpo, usted quiere que los doctores hagan algo para sacar esa infección, ese problema que usted tiene en su vida.
And I want to tell you that today that's possible for all of us, because here's a thought I want to get started with this morning, that one of the greatest invitations that was extended to all of us
Y vamos a comenzar esta mañana diciendo que una de las grandes invitaciones que ha sido extendida a todos nosotros,
where Jesus, he says, come to me all.
y Jesús habló y dijo, venga a mí todos.
And I want to think from that thought that Jesus extends an invitation to all, that all, if you have a need in your life, if you have need of something, I want you to come to me. There's other places in the Bible that says that come to me in this passage. It says, all that are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest.
Y ahí Jesús está llamando y nos dice que vengamos a leer otras partes de la Biblia que dice, vengan los trabajados y cargados y los haré descansar.
If you talk about it, you're thirsty, you come to me, and he says, I'm the living water that you'll never thirst any longer.
Dice que si usted Jesús lo llama y dice, venga a mí si usted tiene sed, yo soy la agua viva, y si usted toma de esa agua, usted no tendrá sed jamás.
So I think it's the open invitation is Jesus is saying, whatever you need in your life, I want you to realize that you can come to me, and I'm big enough, I'm strong enough, I have the capacity to be able to satisfy whatever that thing is that you need from me. Anything that I have promised, according to my word, I'm able to satisfy those things in your life.
Y Jesús nos hace una invitación abierta para decirnos que Él es sumamente fuerte y poderoso para satisfacer las necesidades necesidades que tenemos en nuestra vida.
And with that thought in mind, I want us to look at several different examples this morning. And so get ready to thumb through our Bibles a little bit or through your apps or whatever you will be following me on.
Con ese pensamiento vamos a ver unas citas en esta mañana, diferentes citas, y síganos con nosotros en la palabra del Señor.
That were several different examples that I want to bring to the forefront of our minds where people, they decided within themselves that they were going to pursue after God or after Jesus for their need to be met.
Y vamos a ver estos ejemplos para ver que diferentes personas decidieron buscar a Jesús para que las necesidades que ellos tenían fueran satisfacidas.
Look over in Matthew chapter number 15.
Mateo capítulo 15.
Let's start with verse number 21.
Vamos al verso 21.
It talks about Jesus is leaving this place.
Dice Jesús se fue de ese lugar.
And now he's withdrawing to Tyre and into Sidon.
Dice que Jesús fue a la región de Tiro y Sidón.
Look at verse number 22. It says, and a Canaanite woman from the vicinity came to him and cried out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter, she identifies where her need is. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly.
Dice el verso 22 que una mujer cananea que estaba en ese lugar se acercó a Jesús llorando y gritando y dijo, Señor, hijo de David, ten misericordia de mí. Mi hija está endemoniada, está sufriendo terriblemente.
Verse 23 says, and Jesus did not answer a word. So we're familiar with this, and so we've heard this story before. So his disciples came to him and urged him, saying, send her away, because I guess they were getting irritated by her constant, persistent pursuit of Jesus to get her need met. So send her away, for she keeps crying out after us.
Dice que Jesús, en el verso 23, Jesús no contestó ninguna pregunta. Los discípulos vinieron a Jesús y le dijeron, Jesús, urgentemente, sácala de este lugar. Parece que ella estaba gritando mucho y estaba molestando. Entonces los discípulos dijeron, porque ella está llorando y gritando mucho y nos está molestando.
Pause for a moment in verse number 24. Can you imagine from this constant, persistent, I guess, irritant lady that was there, that was irritating the disciples, maybe not so much Jesus, but they were getting irritated by her constant pursuit. I guess her crying out and saying, Jesus, I'm here, I believe and I know, and the Bible doesn't give us a picture of that, but, believe and I know that you can do something to meet my need, and maybe she was saying, I'm not going anywhere else.
Si usted mira el verso 24, y esta mujer estaba buscando a Jesús y estaba diciendo, hasta que tú no me ayudes en mi necesidad, yo no voy a ningún lado.
And he, in the midst of this, he's not saying anything, and we can all get a picture in our mind that while this lady is persistently pursuing him, it's like he's ignoring her. And how many, the Bible say, how many people here like being ignored? I don't think anybody would raise their hand and say, oh, please, I love people ignoring me. I mean, if we pose a question and we're kind and we expect at least you should reply back to my petition that I'm bringing to you.
La mujer cuando le pide a Jesús esto, Jesús se queda callado, como pareció como si no le estaba haciendo caso, y ella seguía buscando a Jesús persistentemente. ¿Cuántas personas nos gustaría que cuando nosotros hablamos y no nos hagan caso de lo que estamos diciendo?
And somewhere within this, what really is probably many of us will have gotten discouraged and maybe even walked away at this point, that verse number 24, when he did say something to whether the woman heard him or not, it's not, the Bible doesn't say, but he did answer and say, well, I wasn't even sent to her. She's not even the person that I'm even focused on right now.
Cuando usted mira el verso 24, usted ve que Jesús contestó y dijo, usted no es la persona que yo estoy buscando para hablar.
Because he says, I was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And verse 25 says, the woman came and kneeled before him.
Dice la palabra en el verso 25, que la mujer vino y se arrodilló frente a él.
And still cried out, Lord, help me. She was kept saying.
Y dijo, Señor, ayúdame. Y seguía diciendo.
And then Jesus replies directly to her now. The first time his reply was maybe saying, well, that was to the disciples. Now he's replying directly to her. He says, it's not right for me to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs.
Dice que Jesús le contestó en el verso 26, cuando le contesta, es una respuesta que ella no está esperando. Dice, él respondió, ¿está bien tomar el pan de los niños y robarlo a los perros?
How many of us who were here, don't raise your hand, but if that was you and you were going to Jesus, he said that, you would be like, I'm out of here now. His ministry, I'll never support his ministry. I'll never come back because of the way that he's but I want you to see here in this story, this woman was determined.
Y cuando usted escucha eso, si usted escucharía eso y le contestaría de esa manera, usted diría, yo no voy a apoyarlo en este ministerio, no lo voy a seguir, pero esta mujer estaba determinada.
That she said, if I can just get a little bit of his grace, because when she replied back to him,
entonces dice que ella estaba buscando un poquito de su gracia, porque cuando ella le contestó para atrás a él,
she said, yes, it is, Lord, that agreed. But she says, but even the dogs, this is the contrast here. She says, even the dogs eat the crumbs. That is, and what that's implying, even a little bit, God, that you can just touch my life a little bit. You can ease the pain just a little bit in my life.
Cuando ella responde, dice, si lo es, Señor, y dice, hasta los perros comen las migajas que caen de la mesa de su amo, está diciendo, Señor, por lo menos un poquito, yo quiero un poquito de ti.
And then verse number 28, and we finish up our reading with this, and then Jesus said to her,
entonces el verso 28 dice, entonces Jesús le dijo a ella,
woman, you have great faith.
dice, mujer, tienes una gran fe.
Your request is granted.
Tu petición está contestada.
How in the world,
¿Cómo?
from a natural perspective,
En una perspectiva natural.
then you do Jesus, and that's what I'm trying to look at, because how in the world do you get that this woman, this greatness of this woman's faith, because Jesus, he's not trying to, just trying to fill her head with it, because when they didn't have but little faith, he says, oh, ye of little faith, or you tell people you have no faith, but now he says to this woman, you have great faith.
Como vemos que esta mujer tiene una fe grande, como Jesús está respondiendo, diciendo una palabra, no que tiene una fe pequeñita, le está diciendo, mujer, tú tienes una fe grande, como Jesús le responde a ella.
I want us to look at it this morning, and I don't so much have a preaching, but I have a substance. I want us to look at it this morning that in our lifetime,
Vamos a ver, más que una predicación, vamos a ver la sustancia de esta palabra, porque en nuestra vida,
as we're looking at these things are not functioning right, how dedicated are we?
como nosotros estamos mirando en nuestra vida, cosas que no están funcionando en nuestra vida, ¿qué dedicados somos nosotros?
How committed are we
Nosotros estamos acomedidos
in our own personal lives
en nuestra propia vida personal
to pursue God with all of our heart?
para seguir a Dios con todo nuestro corazón.
Because that's what we're talking about today, because everything that we need, the Bible says that God has already provided everything that we need for life and for godliness.
Y de eso es lo que estamos hablando esta mañana, porque la Biblia dice que Dios nos ha proveído todas las cosas que nosotros tenemos para guía.
But I would wonder in all of our lives, how determined and how committed, the question is, am I to pursue the things of God and pursue Jesus with all of my heart?
Qué determinados estamos nosotros en seguir a Jesús con todo nuestro corazón.
Because how many of you know that people, they came to church and they would start saying, well, I'm a believer, and I start coming to church, and when things are not going the way that they think it should go,
Entonces las personas dicen, empiezan a venir a la iglesia, pero cuando ven las cosas, dicen, yo soy creyente, pero cuando ven las cosas de la manera que ellos no quieren que estén pasando,
and it seems as if God is not working on their behalf,
entonces ellos ven que Dios no está trabajando de su parte,
and when it seems like God is not working on their behalf, they become discouraged.
cuando ven que Dios no está trabajando de su lado, entonces ya no quieren venir a la iglesia.
And they stop pursuing Jesus, and they stop pursuing the Father with all of their heart.
Entonces dejan de buscar a Jesús y dejan de buscar al Padre con todo su corazón.
And when we're talking about, pursuing God, the first thing is not one of my number one, but I want you to capture this, that we cannot become discouraged.
Dice que eso no es el número uno del punto que vamos a hablar, pero no puedes dejar de buscar a Dios.
That's why the Bible says that we have to keep on knocking.
La Biblia dice que tenemos que seguir tocando.
It talks about the persistency that we need to keep knocking and knocking. He says, if you knock, the door shall be open. But sometimes that verb is the continuation of knocking and seeking and asking.
La perseverancia que nosotros tenemos en tocar la puerta, dice que toquen la puerta, y nosotros estamos hablando de la perseverancia que usted tiene tocando la puerta y preguntándole a Dios.
And I want to tell you, this is a season for all of us, that this is no time for the church to get weak. This is no time for you or I personally to get discouraged. This is no time for us to get weak in our faith. It's no time for us to want to throw the white towel in. We know that the Bible says as the day of Jesus draws nigher or gets closer, it's going to get tougher. You say, well, Pastor, can't you say that it's going to get easier and easier? No, the Bible doesn't say that, and so I can't say that.
No podemos estar débiles en este tiempo, no podemos desanimarnos, no podemos tirar la toalla. La Biblia dice que en los postreros días se va a poner más fuerte y más fuerte y más fuerte. No podemos decir que las cosas van a estar bien, no puedo decir eso, eso no lo dice la palabra.
But the Bible does tell us
Pero la Biblia nos dice a
that
nosotros
God is, in Hebrews chapter number 11, that God is a rewarder of those that diligently seek Him.
La Biblia dice en Hebreos capítulo 11 que Dios da la recompensa a todos aquellos que lo buscan.
And so I want to say, Kurt, while we're seeing everything going on, we cannot lose focus of where we're at. We can't lose focus of what we think. We cannot become discouraged where we stop seeking the face of God. We need to pray more than we've ever prayed before as a church and as a people.
No podemos dejar llevar por lo que está alrededor de nosotros, por lo que está pasando, no podemos desanimarnos, nosotros tenemos que levantarnos como iglesia y como pueblo.
And when people are out there saying, well, where's your God at when all of this is going on? Where's your God at when this is, well, why would God allow this to happen? Why would God allow this to happen? And it seems like heaven is silent on these things, and we're trying to come up with answers, and we're trying to come up with formulas, and sometimes we can't say anything but what God says.
La persona te pregunta, ¿dónde está tu Dios? ¿Dónde está tu Dios en el momento cuando está sucediendo estas cosas? Y nosotros no podemos decir, en el momento no tenemos la respuesta de decir una palabra, pero podemos decir lo que Dios dice.
And when God does not specifically speak about a matter, we should not speak, but we should still stay persistent in our prayer, stay persistent in our pursuit, stay persistent in getting on our knees, stay persistent in our lifestyle of coming to Jesus and coming to Him and coming to Him. And don't think that, okay, this ain't working no more. I got to try something else. I want to tell you, there is no better place than to be in the presence of the Lord.
Nosotros no tenemos que decir cosas que Dios no ha dicho, no vamos a hablar lo que Dios no ha dicho, pero tenemos que seguir orando, tenemos que seguir de rodillas, tenemos que seguir siendo persistentes. No hay otro lugar mejor que estar en la presencia del Señor.
See, there's a song that says that I've searched the world over and I can't find nobody like you, Jesus.
Y dice una canción, yo puedo verificar y chequear el mundo completo, no puedo conseguir a alguien como tú, Jesús.
And I want to remind us of that today.
Yo quiero recordarte eso en este día.
In this story here,
En esta historia,
that this unnamed woman that Jesus says, man, this is not even your time, but because of the persistency of you coming to me and continue to come to me, says Jesus is now turning to her and says, I go from saying that you don't deserve the crumbs to where he's now saying, man, you have great faith.
Dice la Biblia, hablando de esta mujer que no dice el nombre, pero Jesús, por la persistencia que ella tenía, por seguir buscándolo, le estaba hablando de su fe, porque ella estaba persistiendo en todo momento.
And I want to bring that to our attention today.
Yo quiero traer eso a nuestra atención en este día.
Because there may be some areas of your life
Porque debe haber unas áreas en tu vida
that are being impaired or not functioning the way that God has designed for them to function.
que van a estar impares o no van a estar funcionando de la manera que Dios quiere que funcione.
And I want to remind you, don't stop pursuing God. Don't become discouraged. Don't become overwhelmed. Don't become dismayed. Don't become to the point that I want to give up. But sometimes we have to have that tenacity.
No pares de ser persistente, buscando a Dios, no te desanimes, no pierdas la fe. Nosotros tenemos que seguir buscando en esa tenacidad.
To be like this woman,
para ser como esta mujer.
that when it seems like heaven is quiet,
Cuando ya vio que como que el cielo estaba en silencio,
and there's not an answer,
y cuando no hay una respuesta,
and I can't feel it,
y no lo puedo sentir,
and I can't feel the Spirit of God,
pero no puedo sentir el Espíritu de
and
Dios,
I'm not hearing from the Lord,
y no estoy escuchando a
and
Dios,
it seems like everything is going
y
silent.
parece que todo está en silencio.
You got to know that does not mean
Y lo que usted tiene que entender que eso no está pasando.
that God is not working on the answer to your problem,
No tienes que pensar que Dios no está trabajando en la respuesta de tu problema.
or will not provide a solution for your
O que no te
situation,
va a proveer la solución para tu situación.
because He has a solution for
Porque
you.
Él tiene una solución para
And
tu
if you hang
problema.
in there,
Así que sigue ahí.
you'll be one that He will say, what great faith you have displayed.
Tú eres la persona que Dios va a decir qué gran fe tú tienes que sigues en este lugar. para que usted siga buscando a Dios.
You say, okay, I'm going to stay in there. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go for it, Pastor. I'm going to be committed. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to be dedicated to that I'm going to keep pursuing what God has for me.
Usted va a decir, Pastor, yo voy a quedar en este lugar, voy a ser comedido en todas las cosas que hago, voy a perseverar en las cosas que Dios tiene para mí.
And I titled this, Healing can happen in unconventional ways. And so while you're pursuing God, that doesn't mean how He blessed your sister or your friend or your co-workers is the same way that He's going to work out your problem.
Dice, la sanidad puede pasar en un modo inconvencional, como usted puede darle a la persona, a los trabajadores, a las personas que están en los suyos.
See, all of us experience God different.
Nosotros todos experimentamos a Dios diferente.
See, all of us think, well, okay, I heard this is how God healed this person, that He called them to the front and then they laid hands on them, and then when they laid hands on them, they fell down and then they got back up. So does that mean that everybody has to fall down to be healed?
Nosotros hemos visto cuando las personas vienen al frente, nosotros oramos por ellos y ellos se caen, y cuando se caen no quiere decir que todo el mundo va a ser sanado de esa misma manera.
Well, I know somebody else, they went in there and they put oil on their head, and then when they put the oil on their head, then they got healed. So does that mean everybody has to have oil on their head to get healed?
Entonces, podemos ver que otras personas oran por ellos, le ponen, lo ungen con aceite y ellos son sanados. No quiere decir que todo el mundo va a ser sanado con aceite.
Well, I know somebody else, they have a prayer line in the front of their church, and they went through the prayer line, and when they went through, people were praying for them as they were going through this prayer tunnel, and as they were going through the prayer tunnel, that's when they got healed.
Entonces, otro modo de que las personas vienen en una línea de oración, cuando van en esa línea de oración, es como hacen como un túnel, cuando están en ese túnel, todo el mundo está orando y orando y orando, y ellos son sanados.
I'm going to challenge your ways, because sometimes we can get locked in.
Yo quiero retarlo en esta mañana porque a veces nosotros nos encerramos.
And put God in a box. Lord, this is how you have to have my healing. And God says, I'm not trying to bring your healing this way. I'm trying to bring it to you in a different way. But because it doesn't look like God, sometimes we're not receptive to receive it.
A veces ponemos a Dios en una caja y queremos hacer las cosas de una sola manera, y entonces nosotros estamos hablando de que usted a veces no ve lo que está pasando, pero usted tiene que estar listo y atento para recibirlo.
Here's a story I want to go along with this. It's 2 Kings chapter number 5. We got a couple minutes, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. 2 Kings chapter 5 starts at verse number 9. Talks about this man named Naaman. He was a soldier.
Vamos a la palabra de Dios, 2 Reyes capítulo 5, versos 9 al 12. Habla de este hombre Naamán, que era un soldado.
He had leprosy.
Tenía lepra.
And then that day, leprosy was one of those incurable diseases of their day.
Y para esos tiempos la lepra era uno de las enfermedades incurables para ese tiempo.
But he was still serving in the army, so I'm not sure to what degree of his leprosy or where he was at in the process of how it was affecting his body.
Él seguía sirviendo en el ejército, así que no sabemos cuál era la condición de la lepra o la condición de su cuerpo.
He had a servant girl that was serving in his household, and the servant girl told him about Elijah, the prophet that was able to heal.
Hay un sirviente que trabajaba en su casa, le estaba hablando de Elías.
And then Naaman, he heard it. He and his wife came and told him about it. So he goes to the king to get permission to travel.
Está hablando de Eliseo, entonces él habla con el rey, le da permiso para viajar.
To Israel, where Elijah was at, and that's what we're picking up in verse number 9.
Entonces le dio permiso para ir al lugar donde estaba Eliseo.
So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elijah.
Entonces Naamán salió y fue con sus caballos y se paró a la puerta del Eliseo.
Naaman had a little bit of a reputation as kind of a big guy, so he had an expectation, and he's going to explore that in just a second. He shows up to the house of the prophet.
Entonces él tenía muchas buenas relaciones y tenía cosas a su mando, así que él estaba esperando algo y él llegó a la puerta de la casa del profeta.
Look at verse number 10, and Elijah didn't get up out, wherever he was, and he just sent a messenger to Naaman.
Entonces vemos que Eliseo le envió un mensajero a Naamán.
He said, go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, your flesh will be restored and you will be cleansed.
Dice, vete al Jordán y bañate 7 veces, lávate 7 veces y tu carne será restaurada y purificada.
But because Naaman was so thrown off,
porque Naamán estaba tan mal,
by what his expectations were,
la expectación que él tenía acerca de lo que iba a suceder.
and by how God said, how God was actually going to do it,
Cómo Dios lo iba a hacer.
he almost missed out on his healing.
Por poco se pierde la sanidad.
Because look at it, let's keep reading here, because I would wonder how many people, because God doesn't do it like we want or think he should do it, that we missed out on what God has for us.
A veces nos perdemos de lo que Dios quiere hacer para nosotros porque estamos pensando que Dios lo va a hacer de cierta manera.
And we kind of reject it. Verse number 11.
A veces nosotros no aceptamos. Vamos al verso 11.
Look at verse number 11. It says, but Naaman went away angry.
Entonces dice que Naamán se fue enojado.
Here's the key thought. He says, I thought that he would surely come out to me. He would stand and call on the name of the Lord, his God. So Naaman was thinking, man, I thought at least he would come out and make a big deal about this. You know, I got a really sick problem. I thought God would do it like this. And he almost missed it.
Naamán pensó que Dios lo iba a hacer de cierta manera y él pensó que él iba a salir en el nombre del Señor y iba a orar por él. Y por eso, por pensar de la manera que él quería, por poco se pierde la sanidad.
I love it. He says, I thought he would at least wave his hands over me. And the spots would be cured, that there would be something grander thing. God, everything that God does, it doesn't have to be a grandiose thing to bring healing in our life. What if God just wants to touch you when you're sitting at your house? And you're sitting on your couch and there's nothing super spiritual going on, but God has heard your petition, and now he decides, I'm showing up right now to heal you right where you're at. But because, I was expecting somebody to call me to the front of the church.
El hermano pensó que iban a poner la mano y iban a orar por él. No tenemos que hacer cosas tan grandes, no tienen que suceder cosas tan grandes. Usted piensa si usted está sentado en su casa y Dios lo sana, a lo mejor está pensando como nosotros pensamos, alguien me va a llamar a la frente de la iglesia.
And he goes on in verse number 12, he finishes the thought, he says, man, aren't there some better rivers that he could have at least sent me to? These waters are dirty. You kind of, I read this, I was like, man, he had a really kind of, you know, a what? A fried attitude. Okay, thank you. I thought you said fried. I was like, I'm not sure what a fried attitude is. Fried attitude, gotcha.
No, él dice que él pensó que iba a ir a una mejor agua, iba a ir a otro lugar, y estamos diciendo que él tenía un orgullo.
He goes on and says, man, I could have watched in one of those. So he turned and went off in rage. He goes, you got to get the picture. The man of God has already just said, here's how God wants to heal you. He's upset and said, this is not what I expected, and because this is not what I expected, I'm out of here. I'm going to finish this. And he almost missed. It took somebody else to come to him and said, if the Lord would have asked you to do something great, that would have been something else. But God just says, here's how I'm going to do it, and now you're all thrown off.
Por poco se va porque no estaba esperando eso de Dios, de parte de Dios. Por poco pierde su sanidad. Tenía que ir una persona y decirle, si el Señor quiere hacer esto en tu vida, esa es la manera que Dios lo quiere hacer.
How many of us, I got to bring you because we got a couple more minutes here. How many of us get thrown out with God? I got to go back to this because we said we got to pursue God. We got this determination of how we're going to go after God.
A veces nosotros tenemos que buscar a Dios, tenemos que tener la determinación de buscar a Dios.
I fasted and I prayed and I fasted and I prayed and I gave up this and I gave up this, and I expect God to do it this way, and then God throws me a curveball.
Nosotros oramos, nosotros ayunamos, nosotros oramos y ayunamos y pensamos que Dios va a hacer las cosas como nosotros queremos, pero Dios lo hace de una manera diferente.
And he doesn't do it the way I think, and now I'm mad with God.
Entonces cuando nosotros queremos hacerlo de la manera que nosotros queremos, entonces estoy molesto con Dios.
I would pause and say, who knows better?
Y Pablo dijo, ¿quién sabe mejor?
You or God?
¿Tú o Dios?
You can respond. I think we all should say the same thing. Who knows
Puede
better? You or God?